The restaurant was busy that evening. Plates clinked, people laughed, soft music played in the background. The smell of grilled meat and fresh bread filled the air. Amara moved quickly between tables. She was a tall African woman with warm brown skin and kind eyes. Her hair was tied neatly behind her head. She wore a simple black waitress uniform and carried a tray carefully. Her feet hurt. She had been working since morning. But Amara kept smiling. She always did. She needed the job. Every month she sent money back home to help her younger brother finish school. Life was not easy, but she never complained. "Table 6 needs drinks," the manager called. "Coming," Amara said softly. She walked toward the table. But she had no idea that this one table would change her life forever. Outside the restaurant, a shiny black car stopped. People on the street turned their heads. A woman stepped out. She wore an expensive white dress and large diamond earrings. Her heels clicked loudly against the ground. 2 other women followed behind her, carrying designer bags. Her name was Victoria Lawson. She was rich, very rich. Her father owned several companies, and she was used to being treated like royalty everywhere she went. Victoria pushed open the restaurant door. Her eyes scanned the place with clear judgment. "HMPH," she muttered. "It looks average." One of her friends laughed. "But the food is supposed to be famous," the other said. They walked to the best table near the window. Amara saw them sit down and quickly approached with a polite smile. "Good evening, welcome." Victoria didn't even look at her. "Water," she said coldly. "Of course, ma'am," Amara replied kindly. But Victoria finally looked up, and her face twisted slightly with disgust. Chapter 3, The First Insult. Victoria stared at Amara from head to toe. Her lips curled. "Do you even understand English properly?" she asked loudly. The table beside them went quiet. Amara stayed calm. "Yes, ma'am. What would you like to order?" Victoria laughed. "You people always pretend to be polite." One of her friends giggled. "Just bring the menu, quickly." Amara placed the menu down gently. "Take your time," she said. As she turned to leave, Victoria spoke again. "Wait." Amara turned back. Victoria pointed at her sleeve. "Why is your uniform so cheap-looking? Is this the best this place can do?" Amara felt heat rise to her cheeks, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm sorry if it's not to your liking, ma'am." Victoria leaned back in her chair. "It is." Some customers nearby were watching now. The air felt tense. But Amara walked away quietly. She had dealt with rude people before. Still, something about Victoria's tone hurt deeply. A few minutes later, Amara returned with drinks. She carefully placed a glass of water in front of Victoria. Suddenly, Victoria slapped the table loudly. "Are you blind?" The restaurant went silent. "You spilled water on the tablecloth." It was only a small drop, but Victoria acted as if something terrible had happened. "I'm very sorry," Amara said quickly, reaching for a napkin. Victoria pushed her hand away. "Don't touch it." People were now staring openly. "You people are so clumsy," Victoria continued loudly. "Why do restaurants hire waitresses like you?" Amara froze. Her heart hurt. Still, she forced herself to speak calmly. "I'll replace the cloth immediately, ma'am." But Victoria suddenly stood up. And before anyone could react, slap. The sound echoed through the restaurant. Victoria had slapped Amara across the face. Gasps filled the room. Amara's head turned from the force. Her cheek burned. For a moment, nobody moved. The manager rushed forward. "Ma'am, please calm down." Victoria folded her arms proudly. She deserved it. The manager looked horrified. "You cannot hit my staff." "I can do whatever I want," Victoria said coldly. "Do you know who I am?" Amara slowly touched her cheek. Her eyes were wet, but she refused to cry. "I'm sorry if I upset you," she whispered. Some customers looked angry. Others looked uncomfortable. Then, the restaurant door opened again. But this time, something about the atmosphere changed instantly. 3 men entered first. They wore black suits. Their faces were serious. Then a 4th man walked in behind them. He was tall, very tall. His dark hair was neat. His face looked calm, but there was something powerful about his presence. The room suddenly felt colder. Everyone could feel it. Even the manager froze. The man looked around slowly. His sharp eyes stopped on Amara. Then they moved to Victoria. And finally, he saw the red mark on Amara's cheek. His expression changed. Very slightly. But the air became heavy. One of the staff whispered nervously, "That's Kang Han-soo." The name alone made some people pale. He was not just a businessman. He was something far more dangerous. The Korean Mafia boss who controlled half the city's underground world. Han-soo walked slowly toward the table. His footsteps were calm, quiet, but each step made Victoria feel strange discomfort. She forced a smile. "Hello," she said confidently. "Can we help you?" Han-soo ignored her. He stopped in front of Amara. His voice was deep but gentle. "Who hit you?" The restaurant was silent. Amara shook her head slightly. "It's okay," she said softly. But Han-soo's eyes did not leave the red mark on her face. "I asked a question." Victoria laughed. "Oh, please, it was just a slap." Everyone turned to look at her. She continued arrogantly. "She's just a waitress. She spilled water." Han-soo slowly turned his head toward Victoria. The calm in his eyes disappeared. "What did you say?" Victoria rolled her eyes. "I said she's just a..." Before she could finish, one of Han-soo's men stepped forward. His voice was icy. "Watch your words." Victoria looked annoyed. "Excuse me, do you know who my father is?" Han-soo didn't care. He looked back at Amara. And something surprising happened. His expression softened. "Amara," he said quietly. Her eyes widened. "You're late." The entire restaurant froze. Victoria blinked. "Wait, you know her." Han-soo nodded calmly. Then he did something no one expected. He gently took Amara's hand and raised it slightly. "This woman," he said slowly, "is my fiancée." The restaurant exploded with whispers. Victoria's face went white. "You're what?" Amara looked embarrassed. "Han-soo." But he continued calmly. "We were planning to announce it next month." Victoria began to laugh nervously. "This is a joke, right?" But no one else was laughing. Everyone knew who Kang Han-soo was. And everyone knew he never joked about things like this. Victoria's confidence vanished. She suddenly remembered the slap. Her hands started shaking. "I didn't know," she stammered. Han-soo looked at her quietly. "You didn't know, what?" "That she was your fiancée." Han-soo tilted his head slightly. "And that makes it okay." Victoria couldn't answer. The restaurant was dead silent. Amara gently squeezed Han-soo's hand. "It's fine," she whispered. But Han-soo looked at the red mark on her cheek again. His jaw tightened. "No," he said softly. "It is." Han-soo stepped closer to Victoria. She took a step back. For the first time in her life. She looked afraid. "You hit someone weaker than you," Han-soo said calmly. Victoria's voice trembled. "I was angry. You insulted her." "I didn't know who she was." Han-soo's eyes turned cold. "That is exactly the problem." The room felt frozen. Han-soo then turned to the manager. "Bring a fresh tablecloth." The manager rushed away. Moments later he returned. Han-soo placed the cloth gently on Victoria's table. Then he looked at her. Clean it. Victoria stared at him. What? You complained about the tablecloth. His voice was calm. So clean it. People in the restaurant watched quietly. Victoria's pride fought with her fear. But in the end, fear won. Slowly, she picked up the cloth and wiped the small drop of water. Her hands trembled. For the first time, she understood what humiliation felt like. When she finished, Han-soo spoke again. Now apologize. Victoria looked at Amara. Her voice was barely audible. I'm sorry. Amara nodded gently. It's okay. But Han-soo shook his head slightly. No. He looked at Victoria. Not because you're scared of me. He pointed to Amara. Because she deserves respect. Victoria swallowed. Then she bowed slightly. I'm truly sorry. Amara smiled softly. And finally, the tension in the room began to fade. Later that night, the restaurant became calm again. Han-soo sat at a table with Amara. You didn't have to come, she said softly. He smiled a little. I always come. She laughed quietly. You're terrifying sometimes. So I've been told. He reached for her hand again. Are you okay? Amara nodded. Yes. She looked around the restaurant. Then back at him. But next time, she teased gently, let's just eat dinner without starting a scene. Han-soo actually laughed. And the people in the restaurant watched with surprise. Because the feared Mafia boss looked completely different when he was beside the woman he loved. And from that night on, no one in that restaurant ever forgot the lesson. Respect people. You never know who they truly are.